Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph LaBella.
And I'm Ron Sen. To start, we have an embarrassment of riches locally in the high school sports team. We have girls swimming and cross country in states this weekend. The football team is playing in the Eastern Massachusetts Championship against Hopkinton at Weymouth. And the volleyball team is playing in the state championship against Westboro. Volleyball team, whom nobody really expected necessarily a deep playoff run going into the season, especially coming off a tough defeat in the playoffs last year. The kids have really come on strong. They lost the last game of the regular season to Central Catholic and rebounded from that and have won 3 straight games against tough teams, Arlington Catholic, Danvers, and yesterday Minnechaug. Beat teams nicknamed the Falcons 2 games in a row, which must be some kind of record. And they have a shot against Westboro. Westboro is an excellent team, but Coach Shelley's worked magic with a mixture of 4 seniors and 10 freshmen and sophomores. And they're going to be good for a long time.
Yeah, I saw the Arlington Catholic match. They look very good in the back row. And in the front they did well. Emma looked really good. She had a really good game.
Yeah, they have a strong defense in the back, which is led by senior captain Joe Mercer. Nicole Abbott is also back there, as well as Mary Kate Mahoney, and Lydia Lombardo rotates back there, as well as Lily Fitzgerald. Lily's had a tremendous career. She was named All-State in the Massachusetts Girls Volleyball Coaches Association's Division II bracket, and she, I'm sure, has already set the record for number of kills in a season. She has 634 kills going into the final. Looking back through the records on Max Preps, the highest I could find was Brooke Bell with 625.
You mean set? You mean
in setter?
Set.
Yeah, setters. Excuse me, setters. So she's only going to be adding on to that this weekend at Worcester State.
Yeah, I know what impressed me about her was she's very good defensively in the back row too.
Right.
I mean, that whole unit was tremendous in that Arlington Catholic match.
Yeah, there were I think it was the beginning of the 3rd set. There were 3 or 4 spectacular digs in a row where people made diving plays, got the ball up in the air, kept the ball alive. And against Minnechaug yesterday, Emma Randolph had 24 kills, and Saoirse Connolly had 20 kills. So you got the 2 big hitters in the middle. Lydia Lombardo more than capably helped on the outside. She had 11, so I always say you need 3 big hitters to go deep in the playoffs. And sophomore Erin Torpy had 8. So they had 4 hitters with 8 or more kills, which is a big deal at this level.
Yeah, and I mean, they're playing Duxbury, where my daughter who played moved to Duxbury, and she thought Duxbury was going to be going up against, she was hoping Duxbury against Melrose, but Westboro upset Duxbury. So, I mean, that's going to be, Westboro is very good. They get a real good coach.
Right.
You know, so it's 2 great coaches going up against each other. And in volleyball, it's unbelievable. When you have a great coach, you usually have a great program.
Well, you did the game in Westboro in 2012 where Joe McGinnis was spectacular in the back. Melrose beat Westboro that year, but Westboro, at least in the past, their offense runs from the outside hitter. They've had big hitters on the outside who really take the big run-up, big swing. So to me, the key is going to be Melrose's ability to contain that with the double block on the outside.
Well, you know what else Melrose does well? Probably the best since I've been watching volleyball is their serving. They got some girls who can serve the ball, and they're very, I know Nicole's a very good server.
Right. They had, I think they were up 6-5, and Nicole got the serve yesterday and ran off 8 straight service points to make it 14-5, and Melrose won 15-6 in the 5th set.
But you know what my thing always was? You know, why are they giving an award for the best, you know, percentage in serving when girls are just hitting it over easy? Now Coach Kelly got rid of that, I believe. Now he's letting the girls hit. And even though they hit more into the net once in a while, I don't see too many errors. And they put, if you can get that serve in, you put big time pressure on the other team.
Well, Coach Shelley's son Ryan told me one time, he says, it's kind of funny that the girls that you and Ralph have coached, when they get to be seniors and upperclassmen, they usually do pretty well as far as volleyball. And this year, of the 14 players, 8 have been coached by us in basketball. five of the sophomores and 3 of the freshmen. So we like to think that we've helped them learn how to compete at a high level.
And the thing too is they're the better athletes. You know, the girls that are making the travel teams are basically the better athletes anyway. And we've been, over the years, we've been pushing them to do volleyball after basketball. And a lot of them have gone over there.
We're big believers in players playing multiple sports. We think that it's good for you competitively, it's good for your physical development, and you're less likely, and it's proven you're less likely to be injured. So that's good on balance. Now the football team has been remarkable lately. They played Marblehead last week. You know, my nurse practitioner's grandson played for Wilmington, and she had seen Marblehead play the week before, and she said it was really a terrible environment over at Marblehead. She said that the student body was using profanity throughout the game, and nobody really came to quiet that down. So I tended to think it was karma that they came to Melrose, and Melrose sent them packing.
Yeah, Melrose, we've been, after doing their games last year, I mean, you knew they were going to have a real good team this year with those 2 sophomore seed, and I forget the other kid.
Quiddy.
No, and then there was the other sophomore that was really good. But as running backs and cornerbacks, but the line we figured was going to be really strong. But to handle Marblehead the way they did, I mean, that's great. I mean, the bad thing is in other years, they'd be in the Super Bowl already.
Right.
They didn't have that game. You know, I mean, Hopkinton now, the other team, one team got a bye right into the Super Bowl.
Right. The Central/West, there's only one team that comes out of that area, and that division got a bye.
But did they ever have that going to the...
I don't know if there's going to be a rotation situation where one team gets a bye, north, south, and west, and then the other teams play off. No idea how that's going to work.
It's really not fair, because when you see the Everetts and Xaverians going right to the Super Bowl, you see other divisions going right to the Super Bowl. Melrose has played as many games as them. They've had to win as many games as them in the playoffs. They should be going to the Super Bowl. When they set up this whole setup is wrong. They should have split other teams into divisions where they wouldn't have to play this extra game.
Well, there's a lot of ego problems. The issue has always been, how many champions should you have? Years ago, I think there were 18 different champions, and then they cut it back to 6. And then after a couple of years, they said, well, there's not enough winners. Well, everybody can't be a winner, but that's apparently what the direction we're headed.
The one thing I got to say about the football program, more than any other program at Melrose High School, is the progression continues big time every year. From their freshman year to the sophomore year is a world of difference. From their sophomore year to the junior year, they're different players. From their junior years to the senior year, entirely different player. You don't see that in every sport. Well, I think that's the one sport.
All right, how many years have we seen senior quarterbacks who haven't had a lot of experience come out and be extremely successful? Julian Nyland, as an example. It's just been remarkable the way that Coach Morris and his staff have been able to keep the success going. There really haven't been any seriously down years.
Yeah. Now, to me, you know, I've been following basketball and volleyball, and as great as Coach Kelly is and as great as his program is, our daughters went through it and had an unbelievable time. There's something about the football program. I mean, Melrose has to be, in volleyball, one of the top 5 programs in the state in the last 15 years. You'd have to say that, one of the top 5. The football program in the last 10 years has to be one of the top 10 programs in the state. You know, and I mean, to take that program to where it is every year, I mean, you know what they do in the off season.
Now, you might say, well, you're a bunch of homers, you're exaggerating. How can you say that based on what the facts are? Well, in the last 15 years, the volleyball team's been in the Division II North finals 13 times. They've won it 8 times. They've been in the state championship now, including this year. This will be 4 times. So if you're looking for consistency, they've won 20 games or more, I think 13 times of those 15 years. So if winning defines you as at least pretty successful, they've been very successful. Coach Shelley's in the Volleyball Coaches Hall of Fame as an active coach. And some years you see things that you don't see. For example, Barnstable is the perennial Division I state champion, and they lost to Newton North.
That's amazing.
I know. Newton North lost to Barnstable 3-0 earlier in the year, but they were missing one of their key players. She got healthy, came back, and helped Newton North win in straight sets. Richard Barton was on the show here a few years ago, and he said the first thing they do is they teach the kids to hit the ball hard, and then they figure out later on where it's going to go.
Yeah, both of the coaches. The Westboro coach was on too, wasn't he?
No,
Weston.
Right. Yeah. Faye Bardilla. So overall, great fall for the Melrose sports teams, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of other stuff going on. UCLA went over to China to play some, I guess, early season games, and that did not turn out so well. 3 of the players were picked up accused of shoplifting, apparently had credible evidence in multiple stores, so it wasn't like they accidentally walked out with something. Currently they're under suspension. There's a big question about what's going to happen to the players. Obviously some political maneuvering got the players out of the country, but young people have to understand, you go to foreign countries, the rules are very different, and obviously there's some adult responsibility too. I don't know what the supervision is, but by the time you're 19 years old, you know not enough not to walk into stores and steal stuff.
Well, thank God for our president. Who's the president, the head of China? I
have no idea.
But they're very close. They've met. He was just there, and he called them, and he told them.
Well, I wonder how much we had to pay to get them out. Well, there's a pretty good chance that there was heavy dealing, that some money changed hands.
But if it was some other year, they could probably still be there. What happened in North Korea could have happened there.
And then in baseball, we have an interesting situation where a player, Shohei Ohtani of the Japanese Professional League, who both is a hitter and a pitcher. He's a big kid. He's 6'3", 190, and he's an all-star player in both positions. He wants to play in the major leagues, and there's a big question about who he's going to sign with. And the Yankees are one of the considerations. Seattle apparently made a trade today to the White Sox for more international money that they could use to spend. It's going to cost $20 million posting fee to get him out of Japan, and then the Major League Baseball Players Association has stepped in and said it's not fair. The kid is going to get paid peanuts, and the team is going to be paying a fortune. So,
you see his setup over there? He plays Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. He's a DH. He has Friday and Saturday off. He pitches Sunday. The whole league is off on a Monday. So he pitches one. That's how it is anyway in Japan. They don't pitch every 4. Usually they pitch once a week. Once a week. That was a pretty good setup. I mean, will he do that over here if someone signs him?
I think he wants to play both in the field or DH and pitch. So I'm sure that's part of the deal, that you have to allow him to do that. And I imagine they're not going to start him at AAA. They'll probably be like a Rule 5 player and be in the major leagues.
You don't know if a team like the Yankees will do that. I mean, number one, they don't have to with the young talent they have.
Well, the Yankees have made a lot of good decisions as far as trading off Deadwood. They've got Teixeira finally retired. A-Rod's money's gone. So the Yankees should have money to spend if they choose.
I think they're saving it for Harper.
Could be.
And then if you have Harper, if you have a war between the Red Sox and Yankees for Harper, where do you think he's going?
Well, I mean, he's short right field, so you'd think he'd be going to New York. Pretty remarkable stat line last night for Joel Embiid of the Sixers. He had 40, again, now, granted, he was playing against the Lakers, who were not very good, but he had 46 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, and 7 blocked shots. That's like a month for a lot of guys.
Well, I was watching a sports show today, and they were saying, people are saying the Celtics in the future, but there were 2 people on that show that said they thought Philly had a bit better future than the Celtics.
Philly obviously has some really top-flight prospects. They have Ben Simmons, who's a 6'10" point guard who can do everything except shoot right now, but he can get to the hoop, so that somewhat compensates for that. Embiid, his biggest concern is he's been plagued by injuries, especially knee injuries. So as great as I think he's going to be, his durability is a question. They have Dario Saric,
I like him.
European import, really smooth, big guy who can shoot and pass. Obviously, Markelle Fultz is on the shelf with muscle instability, and which has totally messed up his shot. So we'll see what transpires there. But Philadelphia just proved you could stay at the bottom for a few years, wait it out, and they're clearly going to be up there with the Celtics as one of the top teams. Now, tonight, the Celtics host the Golden State Warriors. Celtics are on a 13-game winning streak. The Warriors are on 7. And this should be a really fascinating matchup against the current power and we hope the future power of the NBA.
During that 7-game winning streak for Golden State, 6 of the teams they played, they've beaten by at least 17 points. They beat Orlando by 10 at Orlando. But I think it's going to be a real good game. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how Brown and Tatum play against those players. It's going to be fun to watch.
Right. Now, nobody is saying this is a preview of the NBA Finals. Nobody is saying the Celtics are at the same level as Golden State. But it's interesting to give us a better benchmark or yardstick for where we are at this point in the season. So Kyrie Irving's been playing really well. I mean, I think the key point is that the Celtics, most of the players they have are better than we thought they were. Baines is better than we thought he was. Marcus Morris, pretty decent player. Brown and Tatum have both been good. Rozier's, made steps. So pretty much, and Kyrie, you see him every day. Nobody's saying anything bad about Isaiah Thomas, but he's not the same player as Kyrie Irving, especially if, obviously Isaiah Thomas is not playing right now.
Yeah, the toughest part about that team is when they bring Smart and Rozier in with the second unit. Neither one of them, Rozier, if he's on, can score at times. Doesn't look to pass, which I don't like. Set players open. He penetrates and then he'll look for his shot or throw up a crazy runner. But he doesn't look to penetrate and dish out. He's got to add that to his game. And Smart, too many times just loses. He thinks he's a scorer. He's not, and he just...
Smart's at his best when he's trying to set other guys up and be a pest, force turnovers, get offensive rebounds, that kind of thing. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We have Lou, the sports guru, with us here tonight, and we're going to start off by talking about sports owners. It's a hard life, being a billionaire, being able to set prices wherever you want, and then complaining about how unfairly you're treated by everyone. What do you say, Lou?
What do I say? Wah, call the ambulance. I'm tired of it. I really am. I've been saying it. How many times have I said $6 for vitamin water? I think it's $8 now. It's the only profession that there is that you can set the price based on if nobody shows up, I will break even. Really.
Well, certainly it's worked out really well for Jeremy Jacobs over the years. Unfortunately, the Bruins fans are kind of left holding the bag because of injuries, but the talent level of the team isn't great either.
Well, if they hired themselves a good general manager, I know Don Sweeney lives a couple of towns over, but sorry, I'm just not a fan. And you know what? If he does something to make me a fan, I will look right into the camera and say, I was wrong.
Well, Jerry Jones has the team that's worth the most, over $4.3 billion, and he's locked in a war with Roger Goodell, trying to say Goodell's overcompensated, which I'm sure he is, because everyone in those positions is. Goodell wants a plane for life, medical benefits for his family for life,
and $100 million,
and $50 million a year.
That's up from what, 40 million?
I think he was making like 40 million or something. I mean, when is enough though? Because where's the money come from? It doesn't come out of the billionaires' pockets. It comes out of ours.
Well, you know what the owners are thinking about? It's going to cost us $1.5 million a year, each of us, to pay his salary.
But how hard is the job? I mean, what does he do other than make jerk decisions? I mean, I'll do it. I'll be the commissioner. Just give me $500,000 a year. How's that?
But the way they're
Sounds like a
thinking is
deal.
that small money for each team. That's small money considering what they're making every year. So they're looking at it that way, not like, hey, he's getting $48 million. Because you got to think, there's 32 teams. Is it 32?
32 teams,
32.
yeah.
So
it's
it's
probably
$1.5 million. 48. That'll come to 48 million.
Yeah, but it's going to come out of somebody.
Kraft talked tough for a while, but he never sued the league like Al Davis. Jerry Jones said he's going to sue the league. For what? What are you going to sue the league for? Because you didn't get your way?
Yeah, well, you know something? It's hard for me to side with Goodell, because I don't like him. I don't like the hypocrisy that Ray Rice got 2 games for punching his wife, knocking her out cold, and yet Tom Brady got 4 for no proof. They couldn't actually prove it. It just, based on this and based on that, it was hearsay that they gave him 4 games off. And so I don't, at the same time, don't feel bad for Jerry Jones, because when Bob Kraft was on the hook, did anybody hear anything come out of Dallas about, Bob, you're right, we're behind you 100%? It was 30 other owners saying, I'm glad it's not me.
Well, they were all happy that it happened to the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why they did it.
But,
Goodell was getting pressure from the other owners.
But now here you go, and it's the shoes on someone else's foot, and it can happen to any team.
And every owner's there with, if I don't have money to build my stadium with 75 luxury boxes, then I'm going to move my team to Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of Al Davis, that was the thing about him, that he threatened to move. He was in Oakland, moving to L.A., and he was already threatening to move back to Oakland before he even got there. And you know what? Las Vegas, Al Davis would have been in Las Vegas a long time ago if I think he died and nobody told him, but long before he died. But regardless, at least he had the guts to sue the league. I didn't agree with him when he did what he did, but I don't know. These owners, they all just want to kind of let's not rock the boat. We're making our money. We're all getting rich, and who cares?
They're not good. I've been saying it for the last so many shows that the owners are no good,
No, they're
especially in
not.
football and baseball. The ones that were around as owners when Sosa and McGuire were hitting all those home runs, and
Yeah.
Barry Bonds, knowing they're on steroids. Most of the players are on steroids. In the NFL, they're all, concussed, and they're putting them back out in the field. They didn't care. They didn't care until they get blasted for it.
Well, it still seems like players get concussed and go back on the field. Who was it? Russell Wilson last week. And we all know that former players, the NFL doesn't even want to talk to them about anything as far as health benefits or consequences for the injuries they suffered.
But this is what I'm talking about, this gluttony. It's like they fought so hard. Who was the players rep? He was a left tackle for the Raiders back in their heyday. He was the players rep. I can't remember his name. But he was, as the players rep, it just got worse. Every time he went to the table with the owners, the players would back down further than they already backed down. And there were all these guys that played that, the offensive linemen were walking around with knees bone on bone. And basically they had dust in their kneecaps from bones just scraping against each other. And they couldn't get $1 out of this league. And, finally it's like, oh yeah, we're going to put some money into concussions. And we're going to put some money into this. And it's like, so you're going to give Goodell all this money. You could have put half that money into a fund for these, you could have put it into some kind of a high yield fund for the injured players and these guys that had 7, 8 years or 10 years or whatever it is.
Well, you have to wonder in 20 years if football, as we know it, is still here, or is the mentality now, let's just make all the money while we can because this is going south for us, especially because of concussions.
Right.
Well, I think in comparison to other sports, I think football it's topped out. And there's no point in talking about the whole national anthem thing because it's just one opinion versus another. Everyone's got their own spin on it. What I will say, though, is just take a look at the ratings because you know what? We live in a country, whether you like it or not, this country elected Donald Trump. So that ought to tell you about where people are at.
Well,
and it's not where we're at.
Right.
It's just, but those are the people that are making the ratings go down right now.
Well, generally, television ratings are down, and the NFL is overexposed. There's too many games. There's too many bad games.
Absolutely.
You have marquee players out like Aaron Rodgers. Who wants to watch Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, that's.
So-
I think a lot of fans that, like me, they'll watch just the Patriots, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a game that maybe Buffalo was playing when they were 5-3 or whatever they were, you're rooting for them to lose, but you're not even watching much of that game. And I know how I feel. You know, I'm watching the Patriots.
I mean, imagine a game like the Giants 49ers is on. It's the
bet
first
against
draft.
the worst.
Right, terrible. And the 49ers happen to win, but who really cares?
Well, but you know something? They didn't learn. The NFL has always had their nose in the air. They've always been, you know, they had a license to print money for the longest time. And they became America's pastime for the most part for the longest time. But I think when you look at the big picture, as far as topping out and heading backwards, they didn't learn from the NHL. The NHL got too big too fast. It's that old business problem that happens to, you know, I mean, Wayne Gretzky went to L.A. and all of a sudden L.A. was sold out. So, hey, I got an idea. Let's put a team in San Jose and let's put teams in Florida.
Well, we'll talk about the Patriots in Denver overcoming the House of Horrors. One of my early memories is 1984. The Patriots are tied in Denver, final 2 minutes of the game. They're going in to get the winning touchdown. They're finally going to win in Denver. Mosi Tupu fumbles, and Dennis Smith returns it for a touchdown with like a minute and a half left. And it was like victory turned into defeat. And it seems that always happens there in Denver. And that seems like the thing of the past right now.
Oh, I remember that because I was in high school. That was the Tutupu fumble. But the problem was, you know, this was, if you remember in the 80s, we were still used to, you know, talking about the, you know, what happened in Sugar Bear Hamilton. Or we talked about the time we won the 75 World Series 3-4. You know, that's what we did. We romanticize against these losing things around here, unlike the Yankee fan here. But I digress.
But the Patriots pretty much dominated, and mostly because Denver was pathetic as far as muffing a punt, getting a punt blocked, just generally being incompetent in every aspect
Well, look
of
at
the
the
game.
two special
Absolutely.
teams coaches after that game.
Yeah, and you know what? That's
it's unbelievable.
But that's a difference, though. You know, everybody in pro football can coach. There's no such thing as a bad coach, but it's how bad do you want it? You know, some of these coaches are putting in 18 hours a day. They're sleeping on their couch, and it's the way it goes. It's if you want to be at the top. And I don't think it's a mistake that you see a guy like Romeo Crennel, who is a good defensive coordinator, becomes a head coach, and he stinks. He's not good. You know, and then some of the other guys that the Patriots had became head coaches, and they weren't that good. And it's not, you know, you wonder why is Belichick. He's the smartest guy in the room. He's the hardest working guy in the room. And, you know, you
And he has Tom Brady.
And he has Tom Brady.
And as long as Tom Brady has the offensive line playing good at a high level, they're going to be almost impossible
Dante
to beat.
Scarnecchia.
Right.
know?
How can they get by with Adrian Waddle there?
But I
was
told
one
you,
game, though.
if
You
you
see
remember, about 3 shows ago, I said, I like Waddle. People are knocking Waddle. I saw him in an exhibition game playing left tackle in that game.
Yeah,
and he wasn't bad.
That's the thing.
But he
He's
still
very
doesn't look too
versatile.
quick. No, he didn't look too quick, but he was doing a good job in that game.
You know what, though? That's the toughest guy he's going to face all year. You know?
But how about coming out, you know, with a game plan where they're going to basically stay away from the wide receivers early on and throw it to the backs and the tight ends in the middle of the field? Because that's Denver's
Right.
you know,
Well, they
best
don't,
part
you
of
know,
the game is
let
the cornerbacks.
Talib and Chris Harris cover whomever and just beat them up in the middle of the field.
And then when they fall asleep a little, you go to, you know, Cooks and stuff like that. You didn't have Hogan, but I thought that a couple of those guys played good. What's his name?
Burkhead was really
Burkhead's
good.
good.
Burkhead.
Isn't that the way they put him in a position? But that's
No,
what
Dorsett
Belichick
is
does
what I'm
now.
thinking
Oh,
about.
Dorsett.
I thought Dorsett played well. He made a nice catch on a low pass.
He puts these guys
He's
in
got
position,
speed.
though, with
And
the game plan.
James White, he's always open, as they say. So whatever he's doing, he gets open.
We talked about them putting them at the slot receiver at times, and they're doing that. And it's a good idea because you know, White and Burkhead are very good at those, you know, cuts, you know, coming at the line, and they're setting
Yeah.
them up with either safeties or linebackers.
Right, and you know, the priority on most of the safeties now is being able to come up and support the run, and the linebackers obviously are not as fast, so they're not great in coverage. And God knows the Patriots linebackers aren't great in coverage, but nobody seems to be exposing them right now.
You know what it is? They're the weakest part of the team right now, I think. And yet their defense has improved so much over the last month.
Do you see in the games, though? Richards was in the games early. They had like 6 defensive backs in
Well,
the game, and they're
well-
bringing Chung up.
Well, they still are last in the league in yards allowed, but they're up to 14th in points allowed, which at the end of the day, points allowed is what matters. Well, it makes you a little crazy. Well, some of the yardage Denver got was garbage time.
Yeah, you know how numbers lie sometimes with stats. I think that the one stat that always will stick out is a Belichick team and Parcells before that, their teams aren't built to win in September. And I think that there were a couple of games early on in September that you were looking saying, oh my God, I cannot see this team rounding into form, because they were just giving up chunks of yards like it was going out of style. But you know what? Nobody learns from what the other team does better than the Patriots coaching staff.
Well, they made a big point before the game is you don't really know necessarily where you're weakest until you play the Patriots, because they've already found out where you're the weakest and they're going to attack that.
Absolutely.
And, we'll have to see where, if you said what's the Patriots' biggest weakness, to me it's obviously injuries and vulnerability to depth are always one, but two is the pass rush really is not very good.
No.
No, but I don't know how they're doing it. And I'm sure the rest of the league doesn't either. But when I see them, and I say, they don't have this speed edge rusher that's just blowing people away, and they don't have these great linebackers that are just. But I'll tell you what they have. They got a scheme that they got smart guys with great lateral movement and quickness. That's like the Patriots' MO. If you run crisp routes, or if as a linebacker or as a safety, you have that great lateral movement to get into position. That's why these track runners don't always make it in the NFL.
Who's been their best linebacker this year by far?
Van Noy.
Van Noy is a guy that you didn't even know if he was.
Roberts had a good game last game.
We never even heard of Van Noy in here. He makes plays. He's made some key plays, really, and he's very mobile, as you say.
But what people aren't talking about is the defensive line against the rush.
No, the
defensive line's doing a good job.
Absolutely,
against the rush.
They are doing their job. I guess like the do your job. It's one of them things. I don't think you can put your finger on it and say, well, I could see why they're doing so great. I don't know why they're doing great.
But know what else I see for the Patriots? Pass rush. They're penetrating on the pass rush. It's not like before when they had Wilfork in the middle, and he's so small, and the quarterback had a clear view up the middle. Now, if you look at that pass rush, they are moving the offensive line back. Very few times are they getting through, but they're putting enough pressure on the quarterback, to make him uneasy. And then once in a while they'll blitz Roberts up the middle, or once in a while they'll send a cornerback. But the key is that you see in Richards in the game with Harmon, with Chung, and the two cornerbacks, they have 5 backs or 6 defensive backs. And if you notice McCourty last game, made a couple tackles at the line of scrimmage. Yeah. So that's what they're doing. Like you said, they're changing up their schemes.
Well, they picked up the guy from Green Bay who owns 30 Dunkin' Donuts. Why is he even playing football? He's got a license to print money.
Tell me about it. Well, there's like 30 Dunkin' Donuts in Revere alone.
But Sunday's game's going to be huge. If they play a strong game against Oakland, they're definitely back.
Yeah, I think it was a good move for them to train at altitude. People will say, oh, it's not a big deal. Well, 7,500 feet, I don't know how much time. I went to a conference years ago at Vail, which is about 9,500, and it was in the summer, so it wasn't cold like in the winter. But, you feel it. And that's walking around, not playing football.
And, I didn't even know where they were playing. What are they, Mexico City, right? I didn't even know where they were playing.
Isn't that higher?
It's 7,500.
I had no idea.
What's Denver?
50. Well, it's about 52.
Wow.
Mile high. So. Anyway, and they're at the Air Force Academy this week. So, Belichick obviously has an affinity for the military anyway.
Absolutely.
But, that seems like a good strategy for acclimatization for the players.
Well, two teams going in opposite direction. The Pats are on a winning streak, and Oakland's just been going backwards. But, it's not necessarily that they're a bad team.
No, they won their last. They've been playing half decent lately, but not great.
They got off to it. It seemed to me they were going to get off. They were. At the beginning of the season, I was like, "Oh wow, Oakland's finally back." I thought
Carr got hurt.
That was a big. Of course, that was big. Yeah.
But you get by Oakland and to go 8-2, and you look at their schedule up for the first 10 games.
Yeah, they have.
That's a good record.
Yeah, and they have Miami twice in the next 4 weeks after that. So
Buffalo twice. The rest of the year.
Right. And they must play the Jets once.
At home.
Yeah, 5 division games. They could pretty much wrap the season up, hopefully soon. But not that you want them to lose their edge.
You go 8-2. You go 8-2, and you look at their division schedule with 5. You're looking at 13-2, and then Pittsburgh's the big game. You know, they can go
Pittsburgh's
14-2 and have the number 1 seed again.
Pittsburgh's always tough, but I mean,
But
I don't want to say that we have their number, but it just seems like every year we just have their number.
They're not playing great right now.
No,
they
they're
shouldn't have won
definitely not.
Sunday.
Well, they've had some internal problems with Bryant wanting to get traded. I'm not really sure. How many balls can they throw to you? I mean, they got this Juju guy who's taken over some of his reps, I guess.
Well, let me ask this: who's the team to beat? I mean, if you take the Patriots out of it, you know, if
In the
it's
AFC
starting the
or the whole
AFC,
league?
who in the AFC does it look like could knock off
Well,
the Patriots?
Kansas City, we seem to match up poorly against them.
But I don't know if they're the same team. Honestly, I think they just were ready to
Well,
go
they lost
first
Barry.
week. Plus, it was at where was that game? Was it at New
Home.
England?
At home.
It
Yeah.
was,
Home.
yeah. So I mean, we'll get them at home again because we're going to end up with a better record than them.
But another thing with Kansas City, they were showing their schedules, and the teams that they have left are weak, but they're playing teams from their division. I mean, Oakland, I don't consider them weak.
No, and it's always tough. You play the teams that know you best. You know.
And Denver doesn't have a winning record, but I don't know where they're playing Denver.
And the Chargers are not as bad as you think they are.
They should have won last week.
Yeah, they're deceptively better than they are, definitely. But
We'll be right back.
If I were a healer, I'd use my hands. I put a spell on you.
of people are asking, why are the Celtics so successful early in the season despite losing All-Star Gordon Hayward? And the general consensus is 2 words: Brad Stevens. What do you think about that?
Well, you've got a lot of length too and very good defense. I mean, when you have Tatum and Brown now playing, and you don't have Bradley in there, you don't have Crowder, as good as Bradley became as a player, I didn't like some of his game. He's playing great with Detroit now. But you have length. So, like they said, Brown's got the best defensive percentage defending the three-point shot in the league.
He really sells out on the three-point shot. And I mean, he's a 6'7" guy. He can really jump. And the Celtics switch everything on the outside, which cuts down the spacing for the other team as far as open shots. Now, when you watch the game tonight, it'll long since be after you, or if you watch this show, you'll see that Klay Thompson is always looking to get the ball and catch and shoot. Last year he scored 60 points in a game where he only dribbled the ball 12 times. So it's really important to get on him because he's looking to catch and fire. The Celtics have really designed a team where they have a lot of wings that can switch even onto big guys. In addition to the players that we've talked about, we haven't talked about Shemi Ojale from SMU, he sort of looks like a 6'7" blacksmith. The guy, he's got muscles on muscles. Earlier in the season, he went up against Giannis Antetokounmpo and really held him off in the post, even though the Greek Freak is about 4 inches taller. So he's a tough kid, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him some on Draymond Green. Yeah,
when next time they play Cleveland, it's going to be Morris and Ojale covering LeBron, I think. But tonight, I think a key tonight everybody's got to do their job. Switching is fine because even if Morris will start off on Durant, I imagine. Even if Morris gets picked, and you got Brown and Tatum who can pick up Durant, you're just going to have to let him. What I would do is, my strategy would be let him take as many 2-point jump shots as he wants. Don't give him open threes. You don't want him getting to the basket. So let him take as many twos. If he hits them, he hits them. Curry won't be shooting if he's shooting. But what they've got to do is, if they stay on their players, I mean, if Tatum comes over and tries to help, and Tatum is covering someone like Thompson, at that point, Thompson's going to hit a three. So what they got to do is they've got to do their job.
Well, the discussion with Kyrie Irving has been, can you play within the system so that you don't feel it's you against Steph Curry? Now, it'll remain to be seen whether he can or not. But, I think it'll be a pretty good game. The Warriors are favored by 7.5 points. So we'll see how that goes. At a slight digression here, there's been a lot of talk about former UCLA guard, Laker guard Lonzo Ball and the problems he's having. Now, as you'll remember, back in February, Lonzo Ball's father, LeVar, said that his son would be better than Steph Curry. Now, that has not been the case. His son is shooting at 31% and more like 20% on three-point shots, and there's a reason for that. Number one, when he shoots the ball, normally you'd get the ball so you could release it from in front of you. And what he does is the ball is literally next to the left side of his face with his hand up against his face. So for him to get the ball released here, there has to be a lot of movement. It's very easy for it to move a few inches either way. And when he misses, some of the misses are really atrocious. So there are left side dominant shooters like Durant, but you'll see when Durant brings the ball up from the left, his hand is already pointed in the right direction, unlike Ball's, whose hand is more pointed to the side. So if you watch Ball, watch for that, watch Durant, watch to see how, even though he's left side dominant in initiating the shot, he can bring it around. And there's a few drills that people have been suggesting that Ball could work on. One is a drill where he has to release he has to bring his elbow against the side. They call it an elbow tap. Another is before the shot, you bring your elbow down to your thigh, call that a thigh tap. and none of these bad habits of shooting the ball from your left side of your face can occur if you work on those sorts of drills. So a lot of times people have a tendency to think, well, as athletes, they don't know anything. They just all talent. They just go out and play. But most of the great players are real students of the game. Jordan was a great student of the game, Magic, Bird. There's nobody who doesn't know how to work the intricate details of the game who's a great success in professional ball.
Well, you know the thing too is they blasted Ainge when he took Brown last year, saying Brown had terrible form. He has great form. He just has to get more consistent with his shot. But he has real good form. The guy played that has unbelievable form is Tatum. Tatum, every time it's the exact same area he comes to, and is, you know, he can. The reason why he's more consistent than someone like Paul is because he's coming from the same spot every time, and he's coming from the right spot. But name one thing that Tatum doesn't do good. There's not one thing that he doesn't do well.
I think my initial concerns with Tatum was the fact that I'd seen him play in a game for Duke last year, and he had 8 turnovers, and he was just throwing the ball away all over the place, and that hasn't been the same guy that they've had. I mean, his assist-to-turnover ratio is not fantastic, but it's not going to be when you're fours. Yeah. So, you know, I think I would expect him to be a perennial all-star eventually. I think Brown could be a perennial all-star. You know, it's not Peter or Paul here. They're both going to be really solid players if they stay healthy and committed. You know, Brown, I mean, Tatum has a more mature game at a younger age. Brown seems really committed to be a terrific player. So, and they seem to like each other and like to play with each other, which is a big deal.
You're Danny Ainge and I call you, right? I want Brown and Tatum. You can have Davis. What would you do?
That's a really tough one. A lot of people would say you should just do it. You know, people forget about the fact that there's money involved too. So if you have 2 assets and low money, or relatively, you know, combined, I think Brown and Tatum make $12 million, and Davis is probably around 30. So that's a big amount on your salary cap. So it's really hard. You know, there's a lot of discussion about if you had to trade Brown or Tatum plus Rozier plus the first-round draft choice that they have from the Lakers next year for Davis, which one of those players would you trade? If you had to trade one, I'd probably be more inclined to trade Brown than Tatum. But if you're getting Davis, then, you know, I don't know. I don't see New Orleans wanting to trade Davis right now anyway.
No, but you get a chance to get Brown and Tatum, potentially 2 of the best players in basketball in another year or 2.
Yeah, no, I think if New Orleans wanted Brown, Tatum, and the first-round draft choice, I'd say that's too much.
And then these people who would blast an Ainge for not getting George for 1 year. When you have Hayward, you got Tatum and Brown, what do you need George for? If George is on a team, Tatum and Brown aren't playing much.
Yeah, presumably you get Hayward back next year, you have an even stronger team than you have right now, assuming he fully recovers.
Tatum's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. And say in 2 years, when he's 21, in 2 years, he's going to be the star. He's going to be better than George. He's going to be better than all those guys. You know, you'll have LeBron will be towards the end of his career. You'll have Durant as the best 3, and you'll have Leonard, and then you'll have Tatum. That's the way I look at it.
Well, a lot of managerial turnover. The Red Sox hired Alex Cora as their first minority manager. Cora is bilingual, played for the Red Sox for 4 years, was the bench coach on the world champion Astros. Never thought we'd be saying that. And he seems to be more of a communicator. Farrell, more old school, and that didn't really work for the younger players.
I think Cora's going to need that bench coach to help him out a little bit. You know, unless he really understands pitching, you know, with the bullpen. When you have the bullpen the Red Sox are going to have next year, it's not as hard as some other team, you know. But the Yankees are going to need a coach, too.
Well, right. The Yankees, the word was they were interviewing Hensley Mullins, who used to play for them. I don't know too much about him as a potential coach, and I don't know who else is out there.
I'd love to see Paul O'Neill. He's broadcasting now for the baseball network, okay. But I would love to see someone like O'Neill.
Now, the big talk is who will the Red Sox try to sign as a free agent? There's talk about Logan Morrison. Morrison had 38 home runs this year. He's 30 years old. He's only done it 1 year, and he's a left-handed hitter, and the Red Sox need a right-handed hitter.
He play first base?
Yes. Lucas Duda, I think he played for the Mets. He had 30 home runs in limited appearances. He hit .217 though. So
He's not bad.
Yeah,
He's not a bad power hitter.
Yeah, he's got power, but it's kind of all or nothing, kind of Dave Kingman style. Eric Hosmer is a free agent, a Boris client, and he had 25 home runs last year, but generally speaking, he's kind of more of a 18 to 20 home run guy, excellent first baseman. Kind of overpaying for him if you're paying $25 million, in my opinion. And then there's the question about if you could get Giancarlo, don't call me Mike Stanton, from Miami, or who are they, Florida now?
Yeah, who are they going to give up for him?
Well, you're going to have to give up a fortune, probably Benintendi, Eduardo Rodriguez, Chavis, and something else.
Never.
Well, anyway, you're giving up a lot, and you're going to also assume a gigantic contract that runs forever. So I don't, now.
How old is he, Ron?
I want to say he's 27. I don't think he's that old.
So 10 years, he'll be 37.
Yeah, but, so I don't think that's happening. He apparently has waived his no trade contract to the Cardinals and the Red Sox. There's a lot of feeling that the Cardinals want him really badly. I don't know if they have the farm system to support that.
Well, the thing, too, is he going to stay healthy? Because remember what happened when they got Ramirez. When you have that type of a bat in the lineup, they had Ortiz with him, too. When you have that big bat in the lineup, it's an entirely different ball game.
Right. What happens is the big concern that I would have is you're going to get pitched inside, and you guys can break fingers, break wrists on the inside fastballs. He's already had a serious injury where he's hit in the face. Now he wears, I think, one of those protective shields.
But I think I would give up whoever I had to give up to get him, because they have enough hitting around him. You need that big bat. When you have him, if you have him and Ramirez batting fourth and fifth in that lineup, it changes things big time.
I think they'd be willing to give up
Bradley
or Bogarts. I don't think they'd be willing to give up Benintendi or Betts.
What?
No, I don't think they would.
They're not going to give up Benintendi and someone else for Stanton?
No. I mean, either one. I think they're going to trade somebody else besides Betts and Benintendi. I think Betts was hurt this year, wrist and thumb injuries.
So you're saying that Benintendi and Betts are not going to be involved in that Stanton trade?
Right.
Then it's useless. No,
well, I think
they're not going to trade for him then.
No. Well, I don't think they are going to trade for him.
Florida will never do it.
And then, no, they shouldn't. Now, the question is whether Jeter would do the Yankees a favor and trade him to the Yankees for something less. I don't know if they...
No, he wouldn't. He'd get blasted down there.
I mean, he's part owner, I think, down there, so why would he want to do that?
Of course he wouldn't. He's the CEO of the team.
Well, you never know what people are going to do.
Oh, he's not going to help the Yankees out, that's for sure.
Now, other issues in baseball is Carlos Beltran retired. And
that's who I want to see as the coach for the Yankees.
Okay.
Carlos Beltran.
So now, first thing I thought of was, is he going to make it into the Hall of Fame? And my argument is yes. He had over 2,700 hits, 435 home runs. He was a 9-time All-Star, very good fielder, generally believed to be a smart player. And obviously this year, he got to be a winner, a world champion. But I think Beltran was always a class guy, and I think he's going to have a career in baseball after this.
He would be perfect for the Yankees. It's either him or O'Neill, but if my first choice would be Beltran. Everybody loves him. He's smart. He knows the game. He would do a great job, and he'd be the perfect manager for the Yankees.
Well, there you have it. Nostradamus. Ralph is often right on these things.
I'd love to see that.
Now, also for the Red Sox, the former Red Sox bench coach, Torey LaBella, was named manager of the year. So they just missed out by a year, hanging on to John Farrell. I guess Farrell's going to get the year off.
He's getting paid.
Yeah, I think he interviewed for the Philadelphia job. I don't think that's such a great job nowadays. And Philadelphia is a really tough town to manage in. The Red Sox have some decisions to make. What happens to Blake Swihart? He's out of options. So my guess is he'll be on the team as kind of a utility player. Of question is whether it'll be the backup catcher or not in that utility role.
But you know what's going to happen with Farrell? When you're off a year or two, you look much better as a manager to other teams. But here's what's going to happen. The Yankees are going to beat out the Red Sox. That's almost a sure thing. The Yankees will beat out the Red Sox this year. If the Red Sox do not make the playoffs, Farrell will look that much better. And teams will, because the last 2 years they made it. They won a world championship with him. And that's what happens. You sit out the year and you look so much better to these teams.
Well, the question is whether Cora was Dombrowski's guy or was it the ownership that said, no, we want Cora. And Dombrowski's last hire was Osmus in Detroit, and that didn't really work out for whatever reason. They had injuries. They have an old roster. But the problem is a lot of times Dombrowski's teams tend to get old because he has a tendency to trade away younger players for old guys. So.
But you look at that. I think Cora will do a good job because the players are going to like him a lot. You know, he's going to be a players manager. He knows the game. He's very close with Pedroia. Played with him. As a matter of fact, he helped Pedroia out during his early years.
Well, Pedroia is going to be out maybe till the All-Star break with his knee operation. We don't know what the issue or status is. Eduardo Nunez, you'd think he'd want to have a job where he can play every day. If they offered him 3 years at $10 million and said, look, you'll be playing full time and you're going to get enough chances to fill in everywhere else, so you get 400 or 500 at-bats, is the combination of money and that much playing time enough? And we don't know what Nunez's relationship is with Cora. Who knows?
Yeah, that's going to be. Yeah, again, you got Nunez, you got Holt, you got those two young guys that came up during the year.
Holt was just terrible last year. Now,
Yeah, I think he had that thing.
He had the concussions, so that might have been some hangover there. And he just never could get it going after the concussion. How much hangover there was after that, who knows? I mean, he'd been a pretty productive player prior to that. And then the backup catcher situation, Sandy Leon is likely to cost them about $2.1 million. And if they think Vasquez is going to play 120 games or 110 games, are they willing to pay that much for a backup player who's somewhat limited?
Well, what about, what's his name? Is it Swigert? What's his name?
Swihart.
Swihart.
Yes, I think Swihart will probably be the super utility guy. And then I haven't heard whether Thornburg's coming back from his shoulder surgery.
Well, they could have Carson Smith. Hopefully he'll be strong next year for
Right,
them.
he looked good in limited action. So overall, a lot to look forward to this weekend with Melrose in 2 potential championship games. I've enjoyed being with you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.